On this day in history, March 26, 2000, Russia elected a new president. The election marked the end of Boris Yeltsin's presidency and the beginning of a new era in Russian politics, as a relatively unknown bureaucrat named Vladimir Putin emerged as the clear winner. Before we dive into the specifics of the election, let's set the stage for what was happening in Russia at the time. Boris Yeltsin, who had been the president of Russia since 1991, had announced his resignation in December of 1999, citing health problems. Yeltsin's presidency had been marked by economic turmoil, political instability, and corruption scandals. He was also viewed by many Russians as a Western sympathizer, and also appeared to be an alcoholic. One of his most significant blunders was the economic crisis that occurred in the mid-1990s, which saw hyperinflation and a sharp decline in living standards for many Russians. Yeltsin's attempts to implement market reforms and privatize state assets were also criticized for enriching a small group of oligarchs while leaving many Russians struggling to make ends meet. Yeltsin's handling of the First Chechen War in the mid-1990s was also criticized, with some accusing him of initiating the conflict without a clear strategy for victory. As Yeltsin stepped down, he appointed Vladimir Putin as acting president, who was the head of the Federal Security Service, or FSB. At the time, the three most prominent candidates for the upcoming elections were Vladimir Putin, Gennady Zyuganov of the Communist Party, and Grigory Yavlinsky of the Liberal Yabloko Party. Putin was widely viewed as the front-runner, but the other candidates were still seen as serious contenders. The 2000 Russian presidential election campaign was a relatively short one, lasting only a few months. Putin's campaign focused on issues such as restoring law and order, fighting corruption, and improving the economy. Zyuganov's campaign emphasized social justice and anti-Western sentiment, while Yavlinsky's campaign focused on liberal reforms and democratic values. Putin was able to leverage his position as acting president to his advantage, using state media to promote his campaign and appearing in public events with prominent politicians. On March 26, 2000, the Russian people went to the polls to vote in the presidential election. The results were clear. Putin won in a landslide, receiving 52.9% of the vote, while Zyuganov came in second with 29.2% and Yavlinsky came in third with 5.8%. When tallied in actual votes, Putin received over 39 million votes, while Zyuganov received just over 21 million and Yavlinsky received just over 4 million. Voter turnout was 68.7%, which was slightly lower than in previous presidential elections. Putin won in every region of Russia except for Chechnya, where the election was not held due to ongoing conflict. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe monitored the election and reported that while there were some irregularities, the election was generally free and fair. In conclusion, the 2000 Russian presidential election was a significant event in Russian history, marking the end of the Yeltsin era and the rise of Vladimir Putin. Putin's victory was due in part to his campaign promises of restoring law and order, fighting corruption, and improving the economy. The election was not without its controversies, but it was generally viewed as free and fair by international observers. Since 2000, Russia has become more assertive on the global stage, pursuing a more aggressive foreign policy and challenging Western interests in areas such as Syria and Ukraine. Putin has overseen a period of economic growth in Russia, though this growth has been driven largely by their oil and gas exports. Putin has also been accused of cracking down on political dissent and restricting press freedom, leading to concerns about the state of democracy in Russia. Throughout his time in office, Putin has emphasized the importance of Russia's military and has invested heavily in modernizing the country's armed forces. Additionally, Putin has taken steps to strengthen Russia's relationships with other countries, particularly in Asia, through initiatives such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The views of Russian citizens towards Putin are complex and varied. While he is generally popular among many Russians, particularly those who value strong leadership and national pride, there are also concerns about political freedom and corruption in the country. With recent developments in the Ukraine and the financial involvement of several world powers, Putin may have strengthened his grip on Russia for the short term, But many around the globe believe he has steered the country and its neighbors into rocky waters.